Are we starting with questions in the room, or are we going overseas here?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Overseas?
Please.
We're going to Nigeria.
She's going to ask this question on the left here.
Since you're about as close to Hunter S. Thompson as I can get, I was just curious. You've been quoted saying that you have to put a little bit of yourself into your work, otherwise it's like lying.
Yeah.
How would you think he would respond to objectivity in journalism? Is there more merit in putting yourself interjecting, doing the gonzo journalism, or should you really still try to do the balanced view? Because that's a problem I've been having in writing.
I think Hunter found my opinion. I mean, I'm kind of speaking out of turn in a sense because Hunter should really answer that. But I mean, he was someone that I knew very well and I worshipped, and we had a great friendship. I think Hunter, because he, you know, from the outside you could look at it and say he's raging against everything because he hates it. The situation was that he was so hypersensitive that he cared very deeply. He cared very much. And that was sort of what drove him, and that's what created that rage. And I think that Hunter found a safety net in the kind of the invention. God bless you.
She raised her hand.
Well done. Or Gesundheit, whichever you prefer. You know. I think that Hunter found a safety net in creating that Raoul Duke character, if you will. You know, the idea that of putting himself into the story. You know, after he'd been beaten and mauled by the Hells Angels. Where else was he going to go? You know, he found a kind of safety net in this untouchable being, which became Hunter, you know. So I would say, yeah, go outside, stay inside, but go outside and then drop it back in as Hunter did, you know.
I appreciate it.
Bless your heart. Thank you, Don.
We coming to the right?
Hello, Mr. Depp. My name is Judy Serrano, and I'm a reporter with the Daily Texan. That's the student newspaper here on campus. And I've been trying to talk to you for 3 days, but everyone else has told me no. So I would
here's your chance. Do it.
I know.
I've been trying to talk to myself for 3 days, and it hasn't worked at all.
Yeah, I would love 5 minutes after if you could spare a few, but if not, I'm just going to take my chance right now. Just relating to the movie, there's been a lot of criticism on journalism in the last few years and accusations that journalism is biased. Do you think that journalism has lost its way since Hunter Thompson's time, and what do you think needs to be done about it?
Yeah, he was so unbiased.
Yeah. No, I think the problem is now it's become big business, essentially. You know, I mean, it's really on par with, you know, all the sort of things that you know, all the kids at, you know, Wall Street, you know, on the bridge, or Occupy Wall Street or Occupy whatever. I think it's become big business. I think it's become some semblance of a, you know, like a product, and it's not really about selling the truth or telling the truth. It's really more about inventing something that the people want to, you know, buy, or what can we shove down their throats that they'll buy. So no, I think journalism is in a bad state right now, and I think Hunter would agree, most definitely.
Yeah. I completely second that. You know, when I was a kid, when I grew up, is this mic working?
Yeah, you good.
Yeah. I had, I mean, I'm a real old bugger, and grew up in England and lived in England, and I have politicians shouting fear in my ears since the day I was born, and they carry on doing that. And certainly when I was, you know, when I was a kid at 14, 15 years old, shouting fear and horror in my ears.
And that's it. That's essentially it.
Yeah, forever.
Yeah.
And telling me that there were 2 newspapers in Russia that we were made aware of, and I'm not a fucking communist, for Christ's sake, but I mean, there was a newspaper called Izvestia and another one called Pravda in Russia. And I remember my school teacher saying to me, of course they don't tell the truth, these papers. These are communist newspapers, and they don't tell people the truth. And it was a long, long time before I realized that our newspapers don't tell us anything like the truth, you know. And so doing this movie, that was a kind of an under, you know, the hem of the film, if you like, was it's all bullshit. It is all endless bullshit.
What was that middle word?
Flipping. It is. It's just they flood our brains with this junk. I mean, the only time you ever sort of feel comfortable in America, you know, and I'm a great fan of this country, but you look at the TV, and the only time people are ever happy in America is in the adverts. And it's always, they're always cuddling their kids and living on a really sweet shore and the sun's setting, and it's gorgeous. And everything else is fear. And it really worries me. It worries me because it's happening in England too, exactly the same thing. The ads are great and the rest is fucking terror. Sorry, John.
No. Well, no, Will spoke.
Let's come back to this side.
Hi. I guess I'm really curious as to the storytelling and creative economics of a film like this, where you have such big and powerful names being tossed around. Just the value of the source of Thompson, the value of the writer of the screenplay, the value of the star, the value of the director, and where the storytelling, you know, the economics of where it all converges.
No,
I think that's you.
No, because you made me do it. He made me do it.
Well, I'll commence, shall I, and then hand it over to Bruce, because in terms of the, in terms of what I was saying earlier, you know, Bruce was the dream for Hunter and I. He was the only guy that we thought could make this film come to life, and we were right, you know, hit the nail on the head, as it were. And but I mean, going through that process, just Hunter and myself, was like a ridiculous. I mean, it was ludicrous. It started around. The book was published in '98. First of all, it was written in '59, published in '98. And then we went through this entire process where, you know, like, he and I sitting around with a cache of whiskey bottles, and you know, people with giant wallets coming to sort of, you know, sit with us at my pool. We were really not well versed in how to get things made, and it wasn't until far after, you know, Hunter made his exit that we were able to get things happening and get Bruce on board. I think you should go from there.
What else are we talking about then?
I don't know. He wants to know something about economics. I think it's about economics,
no, I mean,
isn't it?
He's put me on the spot now.
Can you turn his microphone up? Because I can't hear a fucking word.
I'm curious about the interplay between all of the creative sources as to, like, how the story finally turns out.
Well, that's you, isn't it?
Shall I? No, I was on vacation with... are you going to leave? I was on vacation with my family in Spain, in Seville, and I got this phone call, have you ever read The Rum Diary, which I have to say I hadn't. and somehow Johnny or his blokes had found me down there, and anyway they sent me the book, and I read the book, and I was horrified at the thought of going back into this industry. And the biggest problem with the book was the division that Hunter had made between himself, Paul Kemp, and Yamon, and it took me ages to discover that, which is ridiculous, because I turned on the internet the other day in Los Angeles, and there's Hunter Thompson saying, I divided myself between Yamon and Kemp. And but I didn't understand that at the time. And as soon as I did kind of come to terms with the fact that he'd split himself into two characters, then I felt I was able to write the thing. And I shifted the girl over to the other side of the enemy camp. I mean, this movie is Johnny's, you know. I mean, this is why I'm sitting here. I would not be here for anyone but him, you know.
Well,
oh, I think I'll have an asthma attack now.
While he's choking, I will say, you know, in terms of the economics, I mean, the beauty was that Bruce, when he finally cracked it, and called me and said, I understand now, you know, these two characters must go into one. It's got to be Hunter. It must be Hunter, only Hunter. Death?
Really?
No, he's all right.
Can I have some more of your coffee?
I think it's gone away.
Oh.
Where's Nathan? So his first draft was essentially the shooting draft. Do you have one? How much?
Can we do
You're going to charge us?
Free if you let me into the after party. I'm under 21.
You're in.
No.
Sorry.
Are you?
All right.
Can I take one from University of Washington, UW? Well, I'm going to. So then we'll come. Stay put over there. This is Cassini. I'm going to say Cassini. Does that look right to you?
Cassini.
Yeah, okay. It says, how did you research the role? Now, of course, you played older Hunter Thompson. Now you're playing Sergeant Hunter Thompson.
It was interesting, you know, because having played Raoul Duke, which is the sort of essentially the full-blown Hunter Thompson, circa 71, 72, but also, I mean, he was the Hunter Thompson, you know, up until 2005, the one that I knew. It was kind of a great challenge that Bruce and I shared. You know, how do we approach this guy? How do we approach Hunter before he found his voice? And luckily, Hunter was so incredibly generous with me over those years that he gave me, you know, I knew him so well that he gave me those, you know, those sort of moments. He gave me, he told me about himself and schooled me about himself before he had found that outlet, you know. So yeah, that was basically it. It was, you know, the idea is how do you sort of trim off the edges of that kind of flamboyant character, and find what he was like pre-freedom, you know.
You were able to go back to the later full-blown version a little bit in Rango as well, yes?
There was a moment or two, yeah.